Welcome to the Thought Snob Podcast. I'm Paula Swope. Let's get snobby. Today's episode is about the biggest astrology myths that need to die. Have you ever heard someone say, "Oh, I'm having a terrible week. It must be Mercury retrograde." Or maybe you've heard people say, "Saturn's coming for me. Saturn's going to destroy me." Or, things like Scorpios are toxic. And you'll hear people say, "Well, I'm a Capricorn, so that's just who I am." So astrology has become incredibly popular, but somewhere along the way, social media started turning a complex symbolic language into catchy one-liners. And today I want to bust some of the biggest astrology myths I hear all the time. And I've heard these myths, my entire life. So the first myth is Mercury retrograde ruins everything. Okay, definitely not true. If the internet is to be believed, Mercury retrograde is responsible for every flat tire, every lost text message, miscommunication, and bad haircut. And that's just not the case. Mercury rules communication, technology, transportation, education, and information. Just to name a few. There are more keywords for Mercury, but I hit the highlights. So during a retrograde, those areas deserve a little extra attention. You may need to slow down, double check details, or revisit something unfinished. Life should never stop. It should go on. So if you have to sign a contract or something, just read the fine print and have 2 or 3 sets of eyes on it. Mercury retrograde isn't here to destroy your life. In fact, it's often a fantastic time to revise, reconnect, reorganize, and rethink. And sometimes moving backward is exactly how we move forward. So the second myth number 2, Saturn is punishing you. Saturn gets such a bad rap. People treat Saturn like the cosmic principal waiting to just hand out detention, and I see it differently. And I'm a Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, so I've been in the boxing ring with Saturn a lot. And there's one thing that I know. You choose how Saturn treats you. Saturn isn't punishment, it's reality. And it asks one question. What have you built that can actually stand the test of time? If something falls apart during a Saturn transit, it wasn't built on a solid foundation to begin with, or you didn't do what you needed to do. Saturn doesn't take things away to be cruel. It removes what no longer supports your growth, and it rewards discipline, integrity, and responsibility. It's the planet of teaching life lessons. It's like, do you learn, or do you keep doing the same things over and over again while expecting a different result? So Saturn is less like a punishment and more like a personal trainer. The workout isn't always fun, but you come out stronger. So myth number 3, your sun sign explains everything. Okay? No, it does not. This may be the biggest misconception of all. When someone asks your zodiac sign, they're asking about one tiny piece of your natal chart, okay? Your moon describes your emotional world. You got to take it into consideration. Your rising sign is your mask to the world. It's how people see you, but it's not who you really are. It influences how you look and how you approach the world, though. And planets have a significant influence on human behavior. That's why aspects are so important. Sometimes the planets communicate effectively and play well together, but when they don't, then, that causes friction. So Venus influences relationships. In a natal chart, Venus shows you what you love. Mars reveals how you take action and what motivates you. And then there are, the houses and aspects, declinations, fixed stars, and planetary patterns that make every chart unique. Two people can have the exact same sun sign and be remarkably different. Plus, just for example, you might be in Aries, but your chart expresses as fixed Earth, and that's Taurus. So in that case, you would have strong Taurus undertones to your chart. Aries is fire, so Taurus will drag those Aries traits into the mud and cause that Aries person to slow down. Aries are known for fierce independence and action, and Taurus is stubborn to move. So this is only one example of how this can influence your personality. That's why when I read a natal chart, I always look at the chart expression. I don't just rely on those three, primary placements, because astrology is a full blueprint, not a single symbol. Your sun sign does not tell the whole story. So myth number 4, certain signs are good and others are bad. Okay, definitely not true. Every sign has strengths. Every sign has blind spots. Scorpios aren't automatically seeking revenge. Are they prone to that behavior? Sure, they can be. But you have free will. Therefore, you can choose to evolve rather than stay in a low vibe behavior like revenge, okay? Gemini isn't automatically two-faced. Capricorn isn't automatically cold. Pisces isn't automatically naive. Those stereotypes make entertaining memes, but they don't make good astrology. The expression of any sign depends on maturity, self-awareness, life experiences, and the rest of the chart. And in my opinion, I'm leaning towards the idea that the people who have reincarnated the most are more evolved than others. And none of us knows anything for sure. And that makes sense to me. Why is it that some people never freaking grow up or mature or accomplish anything while others come into this lifetime and just soar, and just reach their absolute peak? And I know that there are many reasons for that. Nature versus nurture, socialization, health and wellness issues, just to name a few factors. But I believe reincarnation can be thrown in there too. I really do. So to sum this up, astrology isn't about putting people into boxes. It's about understanding the unique way each of us experiences life. And when we reduce astrology to stereotypes, we miss its greatest gift, and that's self-awareness. The more you study astrology, the less judgmental you become of yourself and of other people. And maybe, that's the real purpose of astrology, not to predict every detail of your future, but to better understand who you are, what you're here to learn, and how you can grow into the best version of yourself, okay? Your natal chart it's a to-do list. And you can take one look at your natal chart and see where your work is in this lifetime. It's in the houses that have the planets and the placements. That's why empty houses aren't that big of a deal. There's action in those empty houses, but that's not where your work is at. And once you know where your work is, you can use that information to empower your free will. You can use your free will to override what you don't want and cultivate what you do want. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you for listening to the Thought Snob podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd love it if you'd subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's new to astrology. I'll see you next week.
The Thought Snob podcast with Paula Swope has been brought to you by Thought Snob Media in association with Special Purpose Studios. All production, mixing, and sound engineering by me, Will Swope. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Please take a few seconds to give us 5 stars and leave a review. See you on the next Thought Snob podcast with Paula Swope.